Not only is boxing one of the highest paying sports, but it's also one of the most popular and historical of all time. Picking the best in this field is a challenging task, as there are different weight classes, belts, and about a century's worth of history to consider. The criteria we've used for our list includes dominance, achievements, longevity, and perhaps mainstream appeal. Here are the top 10 greatest boxers of all time. Starting off with number 10, Shane Mosley. People have always argued that Shane is the greatest lightweight champion of all time. After all, he stepped inside the ring 34 times and emerged as a winner every single time. Even today, his influence can be felt in the world of boxing. In fact, his power at 135 pounds still remains unmatched by anyone in the history of boxing. Larry Merchant has said that he hasn't met a more physically dominant lightweight than Shane. Well, that might have gone a bit too far. Still, the numbers don't lie. Thanks to the high-profile patronage that the lightweight division has been receiving over the past few years, his popularity has increased a lot. He's easily one of the greatest boxers of all time, and it's safe to say that he can match with any other lightweight who has ever stepped inside the ring. Up next, Larry Holmes. The numbers that he's accumulated during his time in the greatest division of boxing are just astounding. He's only behind Joe Louis when it comes to title defenses. With 20 to his name, this powerhouse has literally fought with everybody and anybody. Ken Norton, Michael Spinks, Ernie Shavers, you name it. Just look at his records. There isn't anyone of relevance who didn't fight Larry Holmes during the 70s and 80s. He was the master of strategy. His jab was always numbing, and the straight right was as textbook as it gets. But the thing is, he's quite underrated in boxing history, as his reign followed that of Muhammad Ali. Still, he's truly one of the best professional prize fighters ever. Now for Joe Louis. We'd like to make it clear his position here is completely based on his performance inside the ring, and not on the impact he had in America or on the African-American community. If that were the case, we'd have to include Joseph Barrow Lewis here. This brown bomber was totally unbeatable during his reign as the world champion. He first won the title of heavyweight champion in 1937 and hung up his gloves as a champion in 1947. During his 11-year career, he had an incredible streak of the most successful title defenses than anyone at the age of 25 in the history of boxing. Besides this, he ranks among the top 3 best power punchers of all time. He shattered the baseless myth by Jack Johnson that a black man could never be the world champion and be dignified. This guy had amazing strength in both fists. It was evident when he made Max Schmeling scream like a damsel in distress during his historic second match. It was evident when you could see Billy Conn vanish after a brown spice combination. His cultural effect was also felt outside the ring. He was the center of the anti-Nazi sentiments before and after the Second World War. In sports, he also broke down the color barrier in golf by competing in the PGA event in 1982. Moving on, Roberto Duran. He'll most probably be remembered for the 2 words he said when he quit against Sugar Ray Leonard, and that's no mas. But he was truly more than that. Also known as the Hands of Stone, he's one of the best pressure fighters and brawlers in history. This man was a tornado of a fighter, easily outpacing his opponents with speed and tact. But his gung-ho attitude made him look even more dangerous inside the ring. This high-class brawler knew how to box and actually preferred to fight. When you think about it, he really doesn't have an equal in this division outside of Sugar. During the course of his 40-year career, he won titles in 4 different weight divisions. He's also a member of the Hall of Fame and can happily sleep at night knowing that he'll continue to be known as the greatest lightweight champion ever. Following up, Mike Tyson. He's arguably the most feared fighter the sport has ever seen. He was the ultimate star of the 90s. He was a wrecking machine when he punched his way to become the youngest heavyweight champion of all time at the age of 20 years old, after he knocked out Trevor Berbick in 1986 in just 2 rounds. He went on to win multiple titles and established himself as the undisputed king of the heavyweight division. He became the first fighter to collect the WBC, IBF, and WBA crowns, and the only one to do so at the time. He successfully defended his titles 9 times until James Buster Douglas gave him the biggest shock of his career in Japan. Later, he became notorious when he was sentenced to prison for a rape conviction. He was released on parole after 3 years and went on to win back the WBC and WBA heavyweight championships. The fact that he bit off a piece of Evander Holyfield's ear during his rematch will never be forgotten. Coming up, Guglielmo Papaleo. Legend says that he once won a round without throwing a single punch. This has never been proved or disproved because the boxing fights weren't streamed on TV during this time. But you'll probably be convinced when we tell you that he had 230 victories throughout his career. It's pretty hard to get your mind around it, right? Well, you'll be surprised even more as it's speculated that he's actually won more fights than the records state. He's the greatest featherweight champion in history. Once you watch his elegant movements during fights, you'll see why so many people consider him to be the greatest ever. He was renowned for his speed and finesse, but people remember him for his legendary defensive skills and elusiveness. He was severely injured in a plane crash in 1947, but he bounced back and went to win on the world title again in 1949. He's best known for his rivalry with Sandy Sadler, the only fighter who was truly able to overcome his elusiveness. In fact, Sandy won 3 out of the 4 matches they played. Let's talk about Ray Charles Leonard. He was a mini Ali. The boxing world needed a spark when Larry Holmes took over the reign of Muhammad Ali, and they got it from the incredibly gifted youngster from Palmer Park, Maryland. He emerged as the shining star in the world of boxing after the Montreal Olympics. He continued to deliver and ushered in a golden age of boxing's little divisions. He literally breezed through the welterweight championships, except for the time he was up against the formidable Duran. After defeating Roberto in their rematch, he went on to unify the titles against the Motor City Cobra. era. He was the greatest during the time of the great fighters and excelled in his glamorous division. His incredible smile and talent saved the sport during a time when the world needed a new fighter to latch onto and follow. His legacy remains unparalleled. What's more, Henry Armstrong. Henry had as many nicknames as the world titles he had won. Some used to call him Hammerin' Hank, while others referred to him as a Homicide Hank. But the most appropriate nickname for him was probably Hurricane Hank, as he was a whirlwind of a fighter who used to shower his opponents with non-stop punches. He's the only fighter in history to simultaneously hold 3 titles in 3 different divisions. He won the featherweight title in 1937, became the welterweight champion in 1938, and added a lightweight belt to his name 3 months later. He also challenged Seferino Garcia for the middleweight title in 1940, but the match ended in a draw. Not to mention Muhammad Ali. What can we say? He was the people's champion. This man was a true work of art. At 6'3", he had the incredible strength of a heavyweight but the speed and tact of a light middleweight. It's hard to compare his boxing skills with anyone. He duly knew where to hit you. What's amazing is that no one has fought a wider range of heavyweight champions due to his travels around the globe throughout his career. Last but not least, Sugar Ray Robinson. We present to you the greatest pound fighter who's ever lived. He was a complete package. His skills had no limit and he would throw every kind of punch that was allowed inside the ring. If God could create a fighting machine, he's exactly the kind of product that would pop out. He only lost once in his 123 professional fights to Jake LaMotta. Although he didn't have the same level of dominance at the middleweight as he did in the welterweight, he still managed to win 5 titles in the division, including the 3 which came after his short retirement of 2.5 years. That's a wrap for this video. Who's your favorite boxer of all time? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more amazing and exciting videos like this. See you in the next one!